Alright, so with 2025 over and done with, it's now time to do the reading wrap up for the year. Now, this reading wrap up is going to be used with StoryGraph. I've been using it for about a year and a half. So let's get started. Alright, so right away it's telling me congratulations on a brilliant reading year. And realistically, this year could have been better in terms of reading. I fell off really hard starting in August up until end of the year. And I'm not very proud of that, but I did finish reading 26 books, which in total was 8,839 pages in total. This is higher than last year's from 2024, so proud of myself for that. So now StoryGraph is giving me the first book that I read in 2025 and then the last book that I read in 2025. The first one was Year of the Reaper. Honestly, banger of book. If you haven't read it yet, gotta check it out. The last one that I read was Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Lightning Thief. Also, banger of a book. If I had to choose between the two, oh, if I had to choose between the two, who would be on top? Um, I'd have to say Year of the Reaper, specifically because as of now it is a standalone book, so it has a finished arc, and like a well thought out story. And The Lightning Thief, as solid as it is, it's still a foundation of a series. So there's a lot of things in there that come into fruition later on in the series. But both are really good, so check them out. All right, so the next graph that it's showing me is one that's completely new. I haven't seen it in the years past, but it is kind of like a mood graph between the books. So the way this is working, it says lighter books push the line up and the darker books push the line down. So at the beginning of the year, you can see that I was reading books that had a much darker mood. And then as the year progressed, then you can see that the mood of these books just started getting lighter and lighter. I had no idea that this was happening. So that's really interesting to see. Um, but yeah, let's keep going. All right. So the next part, when I told you that my reading went downhill in August, you can see it. You can see that it started really good and high in January. It dipped in February, and then it was steadily moving up in March and April. Then it dipped in May, and then it went up June and July, and then August hit. I was done with. November and December, I did do some reading, but not to the level that January, March, and April, and June and July had. So that this year was very inconsistent with me, 2025. But now in 2026, I'm going to try my best and my hardest to make sure that I'm very consistent because this whole thing we can't keep doing this. All right, so the next graph that we have is a bar graph containing the different genres of books that I had. It's pretty much my top 5 that it's giving me. So the first one is a young adult, which I read like 20 books that were classified as young adult. 9 contemporary, and then 7 fantasy. What is this? 5 romance and 5 dystopian. So those are the genres that I mainly read in 2025. If you have any recommendations based on these genres, drop them in the comment. Let me know. I'm very interested in growing my TBR and being introduced to new books. All right, so now StoryGraph is giving me the longest book that I've read this year, which was The Edge of the Universe with 512 pages. When I tell you that that book took a while, it took a while. It didn't take a while. Like I read it like within a week for sure, but 512 pages. And I'm be honest, the book didn't need to be that long. So shame on you, Mr. Sean David Hutchinson. Hutchinson, shame on you. That book did not need to be over 500 pages. Realistically, 350 should have been enough. And then now the shortest book that I read in 2025 is Mr. Popper's Penguins. This book had 148 pages. Realistically, this one should have been a little bit longer, at least like 200 pages, just to flesh a couple things out. But yeah, 500 and what I say, 12, and then 148. That's a huge difference. All right, so the authors that I spent the most time with in 2025, I've got Matt de la Peña, Suzanne Collins, and John Green. Out of those 3, I genuinely only like Collins. Matt de la Peña, huge disappointment. John Green, also a disappointment, but not as big as Matt de la Peña. The reason why they are in this bar graph is because I did read three from each of those. But yeah, I can tell you right now, I will not be reading another book from Matt de la Pena, and it will take a lot of convincing for me to read another John Green book. So my average star rating for 2025 was 3.72. Honestly, that's pretty good. That means that for the most part, I did enjoy the books that I read this year, and I'm really happy with that. Like, that means that I had a good year, and I'm really looking forward to all the new books that I'm going to be reading for 2026. So now it's giving me the actual bar graph of the ratings, and you can see I rated two books 2 stars, I rated two books 2.5 stars, then 3 books 3 stars, and then the rest have been 3.5 or higher. And usually 3.5 for me already means that I did like it to a certain point. All right, so now it's time for some rapid fire things. So the first thing is that I explored, got introduced to 7 new authors this year, which is really cool. 13 of the books that I read were part of a series, and then I revisited a total of 14 books this year. So I reread 14 books. I read 21 books from my own shelf this year, so books that I physically own. All right, and the last part for this 2025 reading wrap up is the 2025 at a glance section where it shows all the books that I read this year. And realistically, I'm not going to show that part just because I have a separate tier ranking video. You can go ahead and check that one out. That one you can see all the books that I did read, what I thought about them. But yeah, so overall, I really like StoryGraph just because it has this graphical element, and I know a lot of people are like math people when it comes to graphs. They like seeing the visuals. So if that is something that interests you, you can go and check this site out. It's not sponsored, obviously, um, but I really like them, and I've been using them for like a year, year and a half. All right, so that is it for this video. If you have any recommendations on what books I should probably read in 2026, go ahead and let me know once I finish this stack of books behind me. I am planning on exploring new authors, especially books that have come out recently, because I'm still trying to keep up on books that came out a while ago. But I do want to be exploring new genres. Definitely into getting into romance. I want to read more fantasy and sci-fi books. Um, Dystopian, always a good genre for, like, I can always enjoy that. But yeah, in general, I'm always open to reading new things. So just let me know. Go ahead and comment. Also, go ahead and let me know how many books you read this year. There's no shame in whether you only read one book. If you read more than that, realistically, however many books you've read, it doesn't really matter in the sense of like competition wise, because this isn't a competition. This is just something for us to like just bond over, right? So just let me know how many books you read, what was your favorite book, what was your least favorite book, just to build like a sense of community, you know? Yeah. Hope you guys have a good day and have a good 2026.